It's my perspective that Black people, as I said earlier, are in a trauma trance. That living in a society that contradicts our humanity from a linguistic perspective, meaning language, from a media perspective, from a political perspective, from all angles, the implications that being Black is bad. One of the things I use in my research to back up my perspective is the doll test that you've all heard about. And from the 1930s up into the 2000s, even up into Obama's administration, they were doing that test, and Black children keep picking the white doll, the majority of them as being good, the white doll as being good and wonderful and having these great qualities, and the Black doll as being bad. And these are adorable Black children. And so the phenomenon that leads to this problematic doll choice has not been resolved, and clearly based on the science. So I'm clear why that's the case, because we have been getting involved through capitalism and material gains and assimilation and trying to perfect whiteness in the Black body, instead of reclaiming the Black body as a place that needs to be repaired and needs to be nurtured and resolved in terms of the implications that are in the very language that we speak. I mean, the term little white lies is a problematic term because it has unconscious implications that are not articulated. But trust me, it's having an impact on the subconscious. So the CTC, or critical thinking and cultural affirmation model, in short, it has all of these activities, strategies, and different types of things that it does to get the people who are involved, who are always Black, to unpack their perspective, to unpack how they feel the way they feel, and why they see things the way they see things, and why the Black child is choosing the white doll. What's going on? And an abbreviated perspective, because it's a long, drawn-out discussion because of all the elements of CTCA. The bottom line is that we trigger Black people into being critical thinkers and becoming awake, becoming mindful of the trauma trance, not because we tell them they're in the trauma trance. We have proof that through their own deconstruction of their own lives, their own inability to know of anybody Black who's done something positive from a historical perspective, or even in their personal lives. The anti-Blackness is unearthed and becomes data for us to actually engage and understand that this is happening in our subconscious. And then we look at why we have a white supremacist mindset. And then we do work that's emotional, that's based in so-called psychology and so-called mental health, but from more of a Wellsing perspective than Freud or Jung. And then we talk about how we're going to replace a dysfunctional self-concept with an exemplary Black self-concept using real facts about Blackness. But before we get into the intellectual talk about all the great things we've done, which we do every February, we're in that month right now, we unpack why we aren't even naturally embracing and knowledgeable of Black genius and Black capacity from Africa up on here. We deconstruct why you don't know this. You 40 years old, you 30 years old, you're 20 years old. You know about Maria Antoinette and all these other folks, but you don't know about Kabaka Mwanga. Why? The unconscious answers because we're Black and we're N-words and we don't deserve, that's, if it's African, it's not that important because you know NAS. And I think I heard Brandon talk about NAS in the previous show, but I've been talking about NAS since the 90s. It's part of my curriculum. It stands for N-words ain't doo-doo, but I don't want to cuss on your show. But you know, it rhymes with hit. But it's literally a part of my curriculum that's called the NAS phenomenon. And we deconstruct the word, we tell people to sit their Black ass down, and why nobody else says sit your Latino ass down, sit your white ass down. We talk about how we learn to racialize ourselves as a human group called Black. And we talk about Black asses and Black MFs, that we're racializing ourselves from a white supremacist frame of reference that has made us not human, but a thing, a race. And why that's problematic. And why we normalize that, and why we have a white person taking up shop in our psyche that we have not evicted, because we've learned to value that white man instead of Blackness. Why grown folks could be in a room together to complain about what racism and whisper the word white. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen that. I know this. Wait, we all Black at your house. The door is locked. Why are you whispering? But you know what I'm saying? You laughing, but this happens. So we unpack all of that. And then once we get the juices flowing around the different t- attacks on Black common sense, Black self-evaluative self-respect, then we go into the critical analysis piece and fill it in with Black excellence.